Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Big Mike over at FOUS4 Trading. Today I want to have a discussion going over how to identify stocks that could become multi-day runners, looking at basically very simple fundamentals about each company. At FOUS4 Trading, we're obviously technical traders. We look at charts, so all we really care about are the charts. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is identifying certain patterns that present themselves over and over again and capitalizing off of them. However, in order to do that, you also need to look at a couple of fundamentals. And probably the biggest fundamental that we like to look at as day traders is float. How many shares are outstanding on the open market? The analogy that I like to use, everybody, is essentially being able to look at a car and deciding if the car can go 0 to 60 within a couple of seconds. What you have to do is look under the hood. With a stock, the float is essentially what's under the hood. So the reason we trade low float stocks is because it takes very little buying pressure to move them. A low float stock is like a car with a 500 horsepower engine that can move 0 to 60 in a couple of seconds. So a stock that I like to use as an example of all this is HMNY. This has obviously been a stock that over the past week has been a huge runner. Removing all news and fundamentals about the company, this is a stock that is a former runner. Back in 2016 of last year, it went from $2 as high as 17, and ever since then has basically been a trading vehicle over the past year. Whether the stock is a piece of garbage or not is another story. What we want to look at is the charts. You can essentially see that over the past year, this is on the weekly, basically formed pretty nice wedge pattern where you just have the bottom back here, which was the initial breakout point, and you just have this major descending trend line. Once that trend line was broke, you have this major run. So the stock essentially before this past week, everybody, you can see being pretty simple. Every time it reached $5, it was really just slammed. So from a technical standpoint, if we were to get above 5, which we did, and hold that, 5 is now the new support. So looking at a 15-minute chart, which is a longer-term time frame that I like to use over multiple days, you can see that once we broke out over 5, we easily held 5. So for anybody that was looking to short this, you can say that 5 was a lot of support. And for people that were longing it, that could have been your stop zone. So it's very easily to expect that if this got any type of volume and held 5, this easily could have squeezed even further. You can see once we got over 7, another batch of shorts were trapped. We basically broke out over 7, really consolidated at 7, which was the initial resistance, and then became support. Then we had a further breakout to about 10. Where the initial resistance was once again 8. 8 was initial resistance and then became support. The trend is once again back to the upside. So you can see that it was very easy, and then once we broke 8 here, trapped a bunch of shorts and continued higher. Very easy from a support resistance standpoint to understand on a 15-minute chart where the stock is having support and resistance after it breaks through certain price areas. However, the key is to understand, guys, that because HMNY is a 2 to 3 million share float, this had major float rotation over the past week. Every day we were rotating the float at least 4 to 5 times, and that engineers a short squeeze. You can imagine people that were longing this since the $3 or $4 or $5 area that are still holding it are restricting the shares that are on the open market and basically decreasing that float each day as we went on the past week, which is why we got this major squeeze. So these are ways to identify certain stocks that can see these types of moves, guys. And the number one thing to really look at is what's the share float. You want to understand what the float is and look for some type of float rotation, which is essentially where the stock trades hands over and over again each day. This is going to engineer a short squeeze, and these are the different things that you can look for on each stock that can show you a possible 3, 4, 500% return like HMNY. Once again, whether it's a piece of crap company or not, stock's up pretty significantly over the past week, so you could capitalize on the long side. And obviously, over the next couple of weeks, we will be looking for a short on this as well. But these are the things you want to look for, guys. Low float, above average volume, and these are the way you're going to see these parabolic movers, especially in the type of market we're in. So looking forward to hitting the market next week. We'll see everybody live on FOUS TV.